Difficulties are inseparable from life. How hard is it to accept that? For most of us, very hard. For the Stoics, not so much. Did you know there are other facts of life that are equally hard to face, come to terms with, let alone accept? Yet the wise person, the wise man of the Stoics, accepts them all, and in this acceptance he finds not just calm, but purpose, and not just purpose, but the Stoic secret so that nothing can affect him, something which is crucial in overcoming adversity, something we'll shortly see. Seneca, in his On the Firmness of the Wise Man, claims that the wise man is safe from injury. And no, that doesn't just mean physical injury, that means all injury. The sage, as Seneca's Stoicism suggests, is unaffected by anything that could be considered an injury, in any sense imaginable. His Stoic mindset makes him impenetrable, impervious. It enables him to be unshakeable, to become undefeatable. Unperturbed, the wise man sits in his unperturbedness like an emotionless rock. But Stoics aren't emotionless, so it must be a trick of the mind, yet another mental shift, or should we say mental shifts, to root himself in rationality when irrationality threatens to take over. So, what are these shifts in perspective that make the wise person be resilient in adversity, to be a rock that can regulate its emotions, one that still feels? It's time to find that out. If you appreciate what we're doing, do us a simple free favor by hitting the subscribe button and make sure you don't skip any part of the video to get the mindfulness needed to become undefeatable in adversity, just like the wise man of the Stoics. Now, let's get into it. This is real talk for tough people, the Stoic way. Don't skip it, don't rush it. Hook those earphones up and let things go. The wise reject victim mentality. Initially, a person may blame others for their misfortunes, reflecting ignorance. This first stage is common for most of us. When life deals us a difficult hand, whether it's a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or a financial setback, the instinctive reaction is often to point fingers at someone else. If only they hadn't done this, or if only the world were more fair. This tendency to look outward for the cause of our struggles is a reflection of our misunderstanding of life and our own role in it. The Stoics offer a perspective that helps us see this reaction for what it is, ignorance of the true nature of control. In these moments, we forget that we are responsible for our reactions, not external events. As a person grows in understanding, they begin to see the futility of blaming others. As they begin to understand and take responsibility, they shift the blame onto themselves. This is a crucial step in personal growth. It reflects an awakening of self-awareness and accountability. At this stage, we realize that perhaps it was our own decisions, attitudes, or lack of foresight that led to the problem. This shift from blaming others to blaming ourselves shows progress. It means we're starting to take ownership of our lives and actions. However, even here, there is a trap. While it's important to take responsibility, constantly blaming oneself can also become an unhealthy habit. You may start to carry the weight of every mistake, beating yourself up for things that ultimately are out of your control. But then comes the highest level of understanding. The truly enlightened or fully instructed person moves beyond blame altogether. This is where Stoic wisdom shines the brightest. Blame, whether aimed at others or at ourselves, is seen as unproductive. Epictetus offers us a shift in perspective here. He reminds us that neither external events nor other people have the power to truly harm us unless we allow them to affect our inner peace. Once we understand this deeply, we realize that blame is unnecessary, even absurd. Blame doesn't change what has happened, it only locks us into a cycle of negativity. Instead of wasting energy on blame, the enlightened person accepts things as they are. This acceptance doesn't mean passivity, it means recognizing the reality of the situation and responding to it with wisdom. The Stoics call this living according to reason or living according to nature. It's about understanding that life unfolds as it will, and we can only control our reactions to it. Whether an event is good or bad is largely irrelevant. What matters is how we choose to deal with it. Blaming yourself or others is, as the Stoics teach, simply not useful. When we let go of blame, we align ourselves with Stoic principles. We understand that assigning fault doesn't change the outcome. It doesn't solve the problem or bring any form of peace. This realization is freeing because it shifts the focus from what we cannot control, other people's actions or external events, to what we can control, our thoughts, our mindset, and our actions. In this way, the enlightened person remains focused on what is within our control, understanding that blame only clouds the mind and prevents us from thinking clearly. Take the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, for example. As a Roman emperor, he could have easily blamed others for the countless challenges he faced, political betrayals, wars, plagues, but in his meditations, he never does. Instead, he constantly reminds himself to accept what life brings, to see it as part of a larger whole, and to act with wisdom and justice in response. He exemplifies the Stoic principle of moving beyond blame, knowing that it's a distraction from what really matters, living in accordance with virtue. Recognizing that blame does not change the reality of the situation is the ultimate liberation. When you stop blaming others, you free yourself from bitterness and resentment. When you stop blaming yourself, you free yourself from guilt and self-pity. In both cases, you begin to think clearly, keep calm, and be resilient. You see life not as something happening to you, but something happening for you, a series of opportunities for growth and learning. This is the power of Stoicism. It teaches us that our energy is better spent on action than on blame. By focusing on solutions, on growth, and on cultivating inner strength, we become more resilient and adaptable, ready to face life's challenges with grace. Blame, on the other hand, keeps us stuck, focused on the past, and prevents us from moving forward. In the end, the fully instructed person, the one who has embraced the Stoic path, and who is better known as the wise man, knows that acceptance is far more powerful than blame. They know that life is full of difficulties, and rather than getting caught up in who or what caused them, they focus on how they can respond with wisdom, courage, and strength. This is the true essence of Stoic wisdom: to see things as they are, accept them without judgment, and move forward with purpose and clarity. This is the first trait a wise man shows when faced with adversity. He blames no one. Seneca's undefeatableness. Seneca's Stoicism delves into the unperturbedness of a wise person. Seneca maintains that wisdom and virtue are not dependent on external conditions, and because he never lets go of wisdom and never stops practicing virtue, the wise man is safe from injury. Furthermore, this impenetrability, this imperviousness from all injury, ultimately underlies his becoming undefeatable. The wise person can never be defeated by adversity. This principle is at the core of Stoic philosophy. According to the Stoic point of view, the true measure of wisdom and virtue lies within us, not in the circumstances we find ourselves in. Whether rich or poor, healthy or sick, celebrated or forgotten, we can live wisely or act virtuously regardless. The Stoics believed that a person who has cultivated Stoic virtues of courage, justice, wisdom, and self-discipline can remain centered and virtuous regardless of what happens around them. This is the wise person Seneca often talks about in his Letters to Lucilius, and does so dedicatedly in his On the Firmness of the Wise Man. Think about it. When we judge someone's character, do we admire them for what they own or how they act in the face of adversity? It is easy to act with grace when life is smooth, but it is in times of struggle that true wisdom and virtue shine. Stoicism teaches us that external circumstances, whether good or bad, are temporary, fleeting, and largely beyond our control. What we can control, however, is our character. The wise person understands this and focuses their energy inward, building a resilient, adaptable mindset that allows them to maintain virtue no matter the situation. The wise adjust to whatever life throws at them without losing their sense of purpose or integrity. They don't allow themselves to be overwhelmed by hardship or swept away by success. Just as a skilled sailor adjusts the sails to navigate through a storm, the wise person adjusts their mindset to face life's challenges with composure. This adaptability is a hallmark of Stoic wisdom, which teaches us that life is unpredictable and we must be ready to meet it with flexibility and strength. When we accept that change is inevitable, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and frustration. Instead, we can focus on how best to navigate each situation, using our inner resources to respond with clarity and virtue. Resourcefulness is another key trait of the wise. A wise person doesn't wait for perfect conditions to act. They make the most out of what they have. They understand that life rarely unfolds as planned, and often the circumstances are less than ideal. Yet, they can still create something valuable out of even the most difficult situations. In this way, wisdom is like a form of creative problem-solving. No matter how limited the resources or challenging the conditions, the wise person finds a way to turn it into an opportunity for growth, learning, or virtue. This is where Seneca brings in the analogy of the skilled artist. It was not only from ivory that Phidias knew how to make statues. He made them also from bronze, Seneca says. Phidias, one of the greatest sculptors in ancient Greece, didn't need ivory to create masterpieces. He could take whatever was on hand, whether it was stone, bronze, or wood, and craft something beautiful from it. In the same way, a wise person can create a life of virtue and meaning from whatever circumstances they face. Whether life gives them abundance or scarcity, ease or hardship, they shape their responses with wisdom, just as Phidias shaped his materials into art. Life, like raw material, can be unpredictable and imperfect. You don't always get to choose what you're given, but you do get to choose how you work with it. The Stoics remind us that external events are like the raw materials of life, often out of our control and full of imperfections. But how we work with what we're given to shape it however much we can is up to us, within our control. In this way, we become artists of our own lives, crafting something virtuous, regardless of what we start with. Resilience is the final key trait. Life will undoubtedly test us, sometimes in ways we can't anticipate. The wise person, however, is not thrown off course by adversity. They understand that challenges are a natural part of life, something to be faced with courage and perseverance. The Stoics offer a perspective that hardship is not an obstacle to living well, it is part of the path itself. When we encounter difficulties, we should see them as opportunities to practice resilience and strengthen our character. This is where the analogy of the artist becomes particularly powerful. Just as Phidias didn't see a block of rough stone as a limitation, but as the starting point for something beautiful, the wise person sees hardship not as a setback, but as raw material for personal growth. When faced with adversity, the wise person asks, How can I use this situation to become better, stronger, and more virtuous? Instead of complaining or feeling victimized, they accept the reality of the situation and look for ways to turn it into something meaningful. This approach not only cultivates resilience, but also brings a deeper sense of peace. But how do they do it? How do the wise not only view adversity differently, but are also able to keep their integrity intact while still being resourceful and resilient in adversity? Now, of course, it has something to do with the mind, perhaps a powerful Stoic mindset shift, but what knowledge could lead one to wield a perspective as potent as a sage's? What indeed could, with the softest step of mind, unlock the surest way to combat adversity? Or is it not about combating adversity at all? It is the knowledge that acting with virtue at any given instant is the best you will ever do, and that nobody can take away the power of doing so from you. As a result, you come to understand that wisdom and virtue are not dependent on external conditions, and this understanding in turn frees us from the fear of failure or misfortune, because we understand that no matter what happens, we still have the power to act with integrity and wisdom, for that is the best we have ever done, and that is the best we will ever do. The wise person, thus, when faced with adversity, is like an artist who never blames their tools or circumstances. Instead, they accept whatever materials they are given and work with them skillfully, ensuring virtuous action no matter what. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: to understand that life's challenges, difficulties, and imperfections are not barriers to living well, but opportunities, seamlessly strung together with virtue, to practice resilience, adaptability, and resourcefulness. In every situation, no matter how difficult, there is the possibility for growth, for virtue, and for creating something meaningful. Indeed, the obstacle is the way. The wise focus on self-mastery. The best individuals willingly embrace hard work and challenges. This idea captures the essence of a virtuous life, where true strength lies in not merely enduring life's hardships, but actively seeing them as opportunities for growth. According to Stoic philosophy, the strongest and most virtuous people are those who don't shy away from difficulty or effort. They understand that hard work and adversity are inseparable from life and hence integral to personal development. These individuals recognize that it is through engaging with challenges that they build resilience, sharpen their skills, and refine their character. Think of the difference between someone who passively endures hardship and someone who actively faces it head-on. The passive individual feels dragged through life's challenges, resisting or merely surviving each difficulty as it comes. In contrast, the best individuals engage proactively, meeting challenges with open arms, knowing that each difficulty is an opportunity for growth. They do not wait for life to force them into action, but choose to take initiative. They apply effort, determination, and focus, not because they are compelled to do so, but because they understand that this is the path to self-improvement. This willingness to embrace hard work reflects a higher level of maturity and wisdom. The Stoics believed that by choosing to face challenges, we honor the control we have over our lives. Even when circumstances are difficult or beyond our control, we retain the power to decide how we will respond. Instead of resisting, complaining, or wishing for an easier path, the wise individual accepts the reality of life's demands and engages with them fully. Call it destiny, call it the indifferent turn of the universe. The Stoic accepts it as how his reality unfolds, and in doing so, turns what could be seen as burdens into opportunities for personal growth and self-mastery. The wise person doesn't resist their fate, but instead chooses to follow it, moving in harmony with whatever comes their way. This reflects a key Stoic idea that life's events, no matter how difficult, are part of a larger natural order. Rather than fighting against fate or resisting what we cannot control, the wise person aligns themselves with it. This concept is beautifully captured in the Stoic principle of amor fati, which translates to love of fate. By embracing whatever life presents, be it good or bad, easy or hard, we stop resisting reality and instead move in harmony with it. This doesn't mean passive acceptance, but an active and willing engagement with the challenges life brings. When we choose to follow our fate, rather than be dragged by it, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Instead of feeling burdened by adversity, we accept it as part of our journey and approach it with a mindset of determination and purpose. This choice to follow fate willingly rather than begrudgingly is a mark of inner strength and resilience. Acceptance of fate also comes with the acknowledgement that we don't know how exactly it'll unfold. Hence the exercise of perceived autonomy when it comes to acting out our intentions. So, the best individuals demonstrate their virtue not by avoiding hardship, but by accepting it with grace and turning it into something beneficial. They are not victims of their circumstances, but masters of their responses. It is easy to take the path of least resistance, to avoid struggle, and to look for shortcuts. But true strength lies in willingly choosing the harder path when we know it is the way forward, knowing that it is through struggle that we grow. In Stoic teachings, hard work and effort are not burdens to be escaped, but essential elements of a virtuous life. To willingly engage with life's challenges, to put in the effort required to overcome them, is a demonstration of one's commitment to living in accordance with virtue. It shows a readiness to meet life's demands head-on, no matter how daunting they may seem. When we see individuals who embrace toil and adversity, we recognize their strength. These are the people who take on difficult tasks without complaint, who remain composed under pressure, and who push themselves to achieve greatness not for external rewards, but because they understand the value of hard work in shaping their character. This approach is not only admirable, but it also sets a powerful example for others. It shows that we are not defined by the challenges we face, but by how we choose to respond to them. Demonstrating a readiness to face life's challenges head-on reflects a core Stoic virtue: courage. Courage is not the absence of fear or struggle, but the willingness to confront both with determination and resolve. The best individuals do not shrink from the demands of life. They face them with open eyes and open hearts, ready to give their best effort, knowing that each challenge is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more virtuous. This willingness to engage with difficulty also embodies self-discipline, another key Stoic virtue. To take on hard work, to embrace struggle, requires a level of discipline that goes beyond mere obligation. It requires an understanding that one's path might not always be easy, and even if it is, it might not lead to personal fulfillment or growth. The disciplined individual knows that by facing challenges, can they develop the resilience and strength needed to live a life of virtue, of fulfillment, of growth. This discipline is not imposed from the outside, but comes from within, a conscious choice to face what is difficult, because it is through these struggles that we become our best selves. In conclusion, the best individuals do not wait for challenges to be thrust upon them, nor do they resist the inevitable difficulties of life. Instead, they actively embrace the hard work and adversity that life brings, recognizing that it is through these experiences that they grow in strength and virtue. By willingly engaging with life's demands, they demonstrate a deep inner strength, a deep love for their fate, and a commitment to living in accordance with their highest values. The wise let go. Anaxagoras, the ancient philosopher, famously received news of his son's death with calm acceptance, simply stating, "I knew that I had begotten a mortal." This profound response highlights the Stoic principle of accepting life's inevitable changes, particularly the reality that all things, our loved ones, possessions, and even our own lives, are transient. Anaxagoras' reaction is a reminder that our emotional equilibrium depends on understanding that nothing is permanent. By embracing this truth, the wise person prepares himself for the uncertainties and losses that life will inevitably bring. By acknowledging the impermanence of wealth, power, relationships, and other aspects of life, the wise man avoids being blindsided by misfortune. In our everyday lives, it's easy to become attached to the people, status, or comforts we enjoy, often taking them for granted. Yet, Stoic philosophy teaches that all things in life are temporary. Wealth can be lost, relationships may end, and even our health and abilities will eventually decline. When we forget this and cling to the illusion of permanence, we set ourselves up for shock and suffering when life inevitably changes. If we fail to acknowledge impermanence, we risk becoming overwhelmed by grief or disappointment when what we cherish is taken from us. By consciously reminding ourselves that nothing is guaranteed, we stand to cultivate a Stoic mindset just like the wise person, a mindset that helps him avoid the emotional devastation that often accompanies loss. This doesn't mean he becomes detached or indifferent, but rather that he approaches life with a sense of realism and preparedness. Like Anaxagoras, who knew that his son's death was an eventuality, the wise person too reminds himself that everything he holds dear is fleeting. This mental preparation acts as a buffer, allowing him to face life's inevitable losses with greater resilience. This mindset helps prevent the shock and emotional turmoil that often accompany unexpected losses or changes. When we are caught off guard by life's challenges, the initial shock can be debilitating. Whether it's the sudden loss of a loved one, a career setback, or a relationship ending, the emotional turmoil often stems not just from the event itself, but from our unpreparedness. We are blindsided because we didn't consider the possibility that these things could change. By adopting a mindset that accepts life's impermanence, we can reduce this shock. Instead of reacting with denial or despair, we can respond with calm acknowledgement, recognizing that loss and change are natural parts of the human experience. Consider the difference between someone who is mentally prepared for the possibility of losing their job versus someone who assumes their position is secure. The first person, having accepted the uncertainty of employment, may still feel disappointment or frustration, but they are not overwhelmed by the event. The second person, however, may experience panic and distress, not only because they lost their job, but because they never considered the possibility. The approach of the wise man here is to train himself to expect change, so that when it happens, he is better equipped to handle it without being consumed by emotional turmoil. At the core of this philosophy is the practice of letting go of unrealistic expectations. Many of the frustrations and anxieties we face in life arise because we expect things to remain stable and secure, even though change is the only constant. We expect relationships to last forever, wealth to remain steady, and good health to endure indefinitely. When reality challenges these expectations, we experience distress because we are mentally unprepared for change. However, by adopting the mindset of the wise person that everything is temporary, whether it's material possessions, relationships, or personal achievements, we free ourselves from the grip of unrealistic expectations. We stop taking things for granted and start appreciating them for what they are, fleeting moments of fortune that can disappear at any time. This acceptance allows us to maintain inner calm, even in the face of adversity. When we understand that change is inevitable, We no longer cling to a false sense of security. Instead, we embrace life's impermanence, recognizing that each moment is a gift, but not a guarantee. For example, consider how this mindset can apply to relationships. Many people are devastated by the end of a friendship or romantic relationship because they believed it would last forever. By contrast, a person who approaches relationships with the understanding that they too are subject to change is better equipped to handle the emotional impact of such endings. This person doesn't love any less, but they are less likely to be overwhelmed by loss because they always knew the relationship, like everything else, was not guaranteed to last. This Stoic practice of accepting impermanence doesn't make us indifferent. Rather, it allows us to engage with life more fully and authentically. By understanding that everything is temporary, we can savor the present without becoming attached to it. We can appreciate our loved ones without taking them for granted, knowing that our time together is precious but not promised. We can enjoy our successes without being defined by them, and we can face our failures without being destroyed by them. In conclusion, Anaxagoras' calm acceptance of his son's mortality is a powerful reminder that everything in life is subject to change. By acknowledging the impermanence of all things, wealth, relationships, status, we prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally for life's inevitable losses. This mindset helps us avoid the shock and distress that often accompany unexpected changes, allowing us to maintain inner calm and resilience. By accepting that nothing is permanent, we free ourselves from unrealistic expectations and can better appreciate the fleeting beauty of life without being blindsided by its inevitable uncertainties. The wise stay prepared. In Stoic philosophy, looking ahead and anticipating life's inevitable difficulties is a cornerstone of living wisely. Foresight, the ability to consider future challenges, allows the best individuals to face adversity with greater composure. Rather than living in a state of denial or wishful thinking, wise people recognize that challenges are an inevitable part of life. By acknowledging this truth and preparing themselves mentally and emotionally, they equip themselves to manage life's hardships more effectively. This form of wisdom is not about predicting specific outcomes, but about cultivating a mindset that is ready for whatever may come. When we don't mentally prepare for adversity, we are often blindsided by it, leading to emotional overwhelm and distress. The shock of an unexpected challenge can paralyze us, making the situation feel far worse than it actually is. Whether it's a sudden financial loss, a health crisis, or a personal setback, the emotional impact is compounded when we haven't taken the time to consider that such events are not just possible, but likely at some point in our lives. Without preparation, we are left scrambling to manage not only the practical aspects of the problem, but also the emotional fallout, which can drain our energy and cloud our judgment. There is no doubt but that all those things which are considered evils are the heavier from not being foreseen. The excellence and divine nature of wisdom consists in taking a near view of and gaining a thorough acquaintance with all human affairs, in not being surprised when anything happens, and in thinking that there is no event that has not happened that may not happen. Foresight, as Cicero emphasizes, allows us to mitigate this shock by confronting the reality that misfortune is an inevitable part of the human experience. If we mentally prepare ourselves for the possibility of failure, loss, or disappointment, we reduce the emotional impact when these events occur. This doesn't mean we obsess over potential problems or live in constant fear, but rather that we acknowledge the full range of human experience, both positive and negative, and prepare our minds to face it calmly. The true strength of wisdom lies in its ability to closely examine and understand the full range of human experiences, allowing one to remain unsurprised by any event. Wisdom, in the Stoic sense, is about more than just knowledge. It is about understanding the nature of life itself. This includes an acceptance of both its joys and its hardships. The wise person, through careful contemplation and reflection, understands that life is unpredictable and filled with a mix of pleasure, pain, success, and failure. Rather than being surprised or devastated by misfortune, the wise person views it as part of the natural ebb and flow of existence. Cicero's point here is that wisdom equips us with the ability to anticipate adversity without being overwhelmed by it. When we understand that anything can happen, and often will, we become less vulnerable to the emotional roller coaster that catches many people off guard. Life's events, whether joyful or painful, lose some of their power to unsettle us because we have already accepted that all experiences, both good and bad, are part of the human condition. History and human experience are cyclical. The events of today mirror those of the past. Wars, personal losses, financial hardships, and even pandemics have all happened before and will happen again. Cicero's wisdom lies in understanding that nothing is truly new or unprecedented. If something has happened to others, it can happen to us as well. By accepting this, we are not shocked when adversity arrives, because we have already considered its possibility. This mental preparedness lightens the emotional burden of misfortune, reducing its impact on our well-being. When we embrace the idea that life's difficulties are not unique to us, but part of the shared human experience, we become better equipped to handle them. The loss of a job, a relationship breakdown, or a health issue, while painful, becomes less overwhelming when we remind ourselves that these are common challenges that many have faced before. Wisdom allows us to see our personal hardships in a broader context, helping us avoid the trap of thinking that we are uniquely unfortunate or that life has singled us out for suffering. The goal of Stoic wisdom is to cultivate a mindset that allows us to keep calm and be composed in the face of life's uncertainties. By mentally preparing for challenges before facing them, we build inner resilience, the ability to bounce back from the challenges without being emotionally devastated. What's more is that when you train your mind to respond, not react, that is, when you, instead of reacting impulsively or out of fear when difficulties arise, are able to respond with clarity and strength, knowing that you have anticipated such events and are ready to face them, a shift happens. A powerful perspective shift of looking at preparation, and one that lets you compose calm in the face of calamity, happens. This mental preparedness creates a buffer between us and the emotional extremes that often accompany unexpected hardships. Rather than being overwhelmed by fear, anger, or grief, we can step back, assess the situation, and respond with reason and patience. The wise person, having already considered the possibility of adversity, is less likely to be consumed by negative emotions when it strikes. They can move through life with a sense of inner peace, knowing that they are equipped to handle whatever comes their way. In practice, this means regularly reflecting on the possibility of change or loss. Just as premeditatio malorum, the Stoic practice of premeditation of evils, or more generally, potential misfortunes, encourages us to envision future hardships. Cicero's advice invites us to prepare ourselves for the uncertainties of life. By doing so, we reduce the emotional impact of these events, allowing us to navigate them with resilience and composure. This doesn't mean we live in fear of the future, but that we live in full awareness of it, ready to accept whatever comes with strength and wisdom. So, the true strength of wisdom lies in its ability to foresee and prepare for life's challenges. When we fail to anticipate potential difficulties, we are more likely to be overwhelmed by them when they occur. By undertaking the Stoic exercise of preparation, by understanding the full range of human experiences, and by accepting that anything that has happened before can happen again, we cultivate a Stoic mindset of preparedness. This mental and emotional readiness reduces the weight of misfortune, allowing us to respond to life's uncertainties with calmness and resilience rather than being caught off guard. Through this approach, we cultivate a deep inner strength that allows us to face whatever life brings with clarity and composure. The wise practice amor fati. The wise man views whatever happens as something that was destined to occur, embracing the Stoic belief in fate and the natural order. This is at the core of Stoicism and its approach to life's unpredictability. The Stoics saw the universe as an interconnected web where everything that happens is part of a larger, purposeful design. Nothing occurs by accident. Everything unfolds according to the logos, the rational structure that governs the cosmos. To the Stoics, fate is not some arbitrary force, but a natural law that ensures everything happens as it should, even if we can't always understand why. In our everyday lives, this concept of fate might seem difficult to accept, especially when things don't go as we planned. Whether it's the loss of a job, a relationship ending, or a sudden health issue, our instinct is often to resist these events, to ask, "Why me?" or to rail against the unfairness of it all. But Stoicism invites us to take a different approach. Instead of resisting or cursing nature for what happens, we should recognize that these events are part of the natural flow of life, predetermined by forces beyond our control. Resistance only leads to suffering, whereas acceptance leads to peace. Take a moment to reflect on this. How often do we waste energy trying to control things that are clearly beyond us? Whether it's the weather, the actions of others, or even the passage of time. We struggle in vain against these forces, believing that somehow, if we push hard enough, we can change what's already set in motion. The Stoics offer a perspective that encourages us to stop this futile struggle. Marcus Aurelius put it simply in Meditations. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs. This is not a call to passivity, but to wisdom, understanding that not everything is ours to control, and that accepting this fact brings a profound sense of calm. We must learn to accept events calmly rather than resist them, trusting that they are part of a larger, inevitable flow of life. Imagine life as a river. You can either try to swim against the current, exhausting yourself, fighting an unstoppable force, or you can allow yourself to float with it, navigating around the obstacles as they come. The current represents fate, unavoidable and unyielding. The wise person understands this and flows with life's events, accepting what cannot be changed with grace and composure. Such acceptance is not about giving up, it's about seeing life clearly and acting according to reason. By adopting this Stoic mindset, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional turmoil. When we stop demanding that life bend to our will, we release the frustration that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. The power of acceptance, central to Stoicism, lies in this ability to surrender to what is beyond our influence. When we accept fate, we don't lose our agency. In fact, we gain clarity, allowing us to focus on what we can change, our own thoughts, actions, and responses. Such an attitude promotes inner peace by discouraging futile resistance. How often do we find ourselves angry or upset because reality does not match our expectations? This gap between what we want and what actually is creates a constant source of inner conflict. But by aligning ourselves with the Stoic belief in fate, we close this gap. We no longer expect life to cater to our desires or fear the unknown. Instead, we face each event as it comes, understanding that it was always meant to be. This shift in perspective, from resistance to acceptance, brings peace of mind. This isn't to say that life becomes easy. Hardships will still occur, and loss, pain, and disappointment are all part of the human experience. But with a Stoic mindset, we understand that these events too are part of the natural order. We don't resist them or wish them away. Instead, we ask, how can I grow from this? What can I learn? This attitude doesn't just protect us from suffering, it transforms adversity into an opportunity for growth. The Stoic path teaches us that resisting fate is not only pointless, but harmful. Epictetus offers us a shift in perspective when he says, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, to align your will with the natural order, to embrace fate, and in doing so, to free yourself from unnecessary suffering. When we accept life as it is, flawed, unpredictable, and full of challenges, we begin to see that these very challenges are what shape us. They are not barriers to our happiness, but the path to it. Stoicism reminds us that what cannot be changed is not meant to be fought against, but understood as part of the fabric of life. This is the heart of Stoic philosophy, to trust in the natural order, to embrace the inevitability of fate, and to live in a way that promotes inner peace, regardless of external events. On the firmness of the wise man. In Stoic philosophy, wisdom is not limited by external circumstances. A wise person does not depend on ideal conditions to thrive or find purpose. Instead, they have the mental agility and resourcefulness to navigate whatever life brings, be it prosperity or adversity. In emphasizing the adaptability and resourcefulness of a wise person, Seneca, often in his Letters to Lucilius and dedicatedly in his On the Firmness of the Wise Man, highlights the notion that wisdom is not a passive trait. It is active, adaptable, and dynamic. The wise person, according to Seneca, is always engaged in the pursuit of growth, learning, and teaching, regardless of their environment or material wealth. While we often associate wisdom with the ability to guide others in matters of success, wealth, or power, a truly wise person has much to offer even in times of personal hardship. If circumstances change and the wise man finds himself in poverty, this does not diminish his ability to teach and lead. In fact, his experience in handling adversity becomes an equally valuable lesson for others. In poverty, the wise person can demonstrate how to live with dignity, manage scarce resources, and maintain inner peace despite external challenges. This idea reflects the Stoic belief that wisdom is not contingent on external wealth or status. True wisdom is demonstrated in how we handle life's difficulties. If the wise man is unable to advise on matters of wealth, he can still impart the crucial lesson of how to live well with little. By mastering poverty, he shows others that wisdom applies to all stages of life, from prosperity to hardship. He teaches that resilience, contentment, and virtue are not tied to material circumstances, but rather to one's inner state. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is this: that external circumstances do not dictate a person's ability to live a meaningful life. And so, no matter the situation, whether one is wealthy or poor, in power or out of it, the wise person finds purpose. Their focus is not on external success or failure, but on living according to their principles, no matter what. For a Stoic, purpose and meaning come from within, and the wise person is always engaged in the work of improving themselves and others. Whether advising others in times of plenty or guiding them through adversity, their efforts remain purposeful and valuable. Seneca's point is that wisdom is never wasted or diminished by external conditions. It is as valuable in poverty as it is in wealth. The wise person does not rely on favorable circumstances to exercise their wisdom. They find ways to turn every situation into an opportunity for teaching, growth, and self-improvement. This adaptability is a hallmark of Stoic thought, the ability to remain effective, composed, and virtuous regardless of what life throws at you. In good times and bad, the wise person remains dedicated to practicing and sharing wisdom. When fortune favors them, they use their influence and resources to guide others, to govern wisely, and to teach how to handle success without becoming attached to it. They show others how to maintain humility and integrity even when surrounded by wealth or power. However, when adversity strikes, the wise person does not retreat into despair or helplessness. Instead, they adapt, using hardship as a platform to teach resilience, self-control, and the importance of focusing on what is within our control. In both prosperity and adversity, the wise person demonstrates that wisdom is a way of life, not a response to specific circumstances. In prosperity, they remind us not to become attached to fleeting pleasures. In adversity, they show that hardship can be endured and even embraced as an opportunity for growth. The wise person's strength lies in their ability to remain balanced, purposeful, and engaged, no matter what life presents. They are not defined by external conditions, but by their consistent practice of wisdom and virtue. Seneca, in his works, often highlights the fact that wisdom allows a person to excel in any situation. Wisdom is the greatest of all skills, and so when fortune is favorable, the wise person uses their skills to govern, lead, and make the most of their opportunities. They do not squander their good fortune on trivial pursuits or become complacent in times of success. Instead, they continue to live in accordance with their principles, using their influence and resources for the betterment of others, and in short, they use the skill of wisdom in the wisest way possible. Conversely, when hardship arises, the wise person applies the same skills of resilience, composure, and adaptability to overcome adversity. They face challenges with the same calm demeanor and strategic thinking they would use in times of abundance. The wise person does not falter in the face of misfortune, but approaches it with the mindset that they can endure and thrive even under difficult conditions. Their wisdom allows them to navigate both success and failure with grace, turning every situation into an opportunity for personal growth and teaching others by example. At the heart of Seneca's message is the idea that wisdom is not a passive quality, but an active engagement with life. The wise person is always learning, growing, and teaching, whether life is easy or difficult. They see every circumstance as an opportunity to apply their principles and to demonstrate to others that a life of wisdom is possible in any condition. For the wise person, adversity is not an obstacle, but a chance to teach resilience, patience, and self-control. And so, for the wise person, the obstacle is the way. Prosperity is not an excuse for indulgence, but an opportunity to teach moderation, humility, and generosity. In both cases, they remain engaged, purposeful, and ready to adapt. They understand that life's conditions are always in flux, but their commitment to wisdom remains constant. This ability to turn every situation into a lesson or opportunity for growth is what makes the wise person truly remarkable. In conclusion, Seneca's wisdom teaches that the truly wise person is adaptable and resourceful, able to find meaning and purpose in every situation. Whether in prosperity or poverty, the wise person remains active in the pursuit of wisdom, using both success and hardship as platforms for teaching and growth. Their efforts are never wasted, as they consistently apply their principles to guide themselves and others through the ups and downs of life. By staying engaged and purposeful, the wise person turns every experience into an opportunity for learning and self-improvement, demonstrating that true wisdom is not dependent on external conditions, but on one's inner strength and adaptability. If you like what we do, feel free to do more and like and share the video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, to the community. How, you ask? By hitting that like button as a symbol of your commitment to change. By subscribing to join a community where wisdom isn't just shared but lived, to help us create powerful stuff. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, the gentle chime of a Stoic philosopher, reminding you to return to this space of learning and growth. Each like, each subscription, each notification is a step towards a collective awakening. And if you feel that stirring in your heart, that resonance with the words of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus, share this video. That will help us immensely in continuing to create powerful and unique stuff for the community.